All right, this is Clint from the Doorway 2, hanging out with Edgar from Obsidian Kingdom. How you doing tonight, my friend?
Hey, Clint, my pleasure, man. It's like the first interview I'm doing with the United States, so the time difference is crazy, but happy to be chatting with you, man.
Not a problem at all. So the first question I'm going to kind of ask is, how would you describe Obsidian Kingdom to someone who's never heard it before? I'm going to kind of try, but I kind of want you to do it afterwards. Um, so there's so many different styles. I mean, I hate using the word post metal. I hate using the word avant garde, but you mix elements of bands like Arcturus, the Mains. You remind me of Faith No More at times, even, and then like Asan and stuff like that from Emperor. Like, there's so many different styles and mixes. How do you explain it to someone when they're about to listen for the very first time?
Well, it depends. If I know they're not into metal, then I try to scare them off. Like I told them, yeah, it's like the music from those guys that dress black and are screaming all the time. So because I know they're not gonna like it, even though we do not always play metal, I know that I don't think we're gonna appeal to non-metalheads, and at the same time, we're probably not going to appeal to most metalheads too, because we kind of try to, stray from the thrown path. So I think we are a band that doesn't care about genre or tagging. We just go with the flow, do what we feel, and we we rarely listen to metal these days. We love to play it; it's super fun, but
Sure.
the music we listen to, it's more like electronic or folk, even hip hop.
Yeah.
So I think all that simmers into the music we create in a
Awesome.
weird way, of course.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's what I was going to kind of say. You mix the elements of electronic, jazz, industrial into metal in such interesting ways that I was wondering your fan base. Do you think it's mostly metal fans, or do you think it's just a cross of anybody who kind of just finds you interesting and then says, "Oh hell, I have a new band that I like."
No, I think there's a market for bands like us inside of metal,
Okay.
not outside of it. Like there are metalheads that long for something that it's a little bit different, a little bit off, and there's a circuit for that. There's like certain festivals. I don't know in the U.S., but in Europe certainly. Like there's Roadburn in the
Yeah.
Netherlands or Amplifest, that kind of stuff. And there are bands that fit into this, weird box of metal bands do something that is metal-ish but not entirely metal. I
Yeah.
really wouldn't know how to describe it. I mean, it's certainly heavy and it still features, distorted guitars and growls and double bass, but it's that's only some language that mixes with other languages. And I think post metal. I know why you hate that word, but it kind of describes that vibe.
It does. No, no, it absolutely does. So I'm going to kind of change the course of the questions a little bit. So I started listening to you with A Year with No Summer. That's the first record I heard from you guys. And that's just because I have friends that work at Season to Mist Records, and they told me, "Hey, Clint, I think you're really going to dig this fucking weirdo band." And I was like, "All right, cool." Uh, and friends over here in the U.S. that kind of work with Seasons of Mist, and I said, "Sure, let me listen to it." And that was the first time I really got to hear you. And I really like the dichotomy of the clean versus growled vocals versus kind of um, laid back and then really pissed off music at the same time. And sometimes it happens in the very same song, like right after each other. So I kind of wanted to ask, before that record. So I've only listened to you since 2016 or so.
All right.
Was the band something very different, or was that something that was that all along what you sounded like?
Yeah, we only have one previous record, and
Okay.
if you like the last two, you're gonna love that one. So,
Okay.
yeah, we were kind of doing the same in the sense that we're trying to tell a story, and we used metal as one of the possible languages to tell that story. So yeah, it's a mix of everything. Like back then, we were mostly listening to rock and metal, so there's
Okay.
not so much electronic music or maybe you know, but there's the jazzy vibe and there's drone and there's noise. Certainly, we are always trying to find new ways of playing our instruments. Like with the guitars, for in a year with no summer, for example, I got an Ebo that makes the guitar sound like it's a synthesizer. So there's a whole world of new possibilities after this small machine. Yeah, you don't even have to change instruments. I mean, yeah, I think we're just so playful. Um, we get bored easily, so we are always trying to find new ways to express ourselves in our limited budget.
Gotcha. And so that's the next thing I was going to kind of ask is, so you're on Seasons of Mist, and though they're a known label, they're definitely not huge by any means. They're still very much an independent label.
Yeah.
Um, what have you seen different working with them than being more independent before this? Like, what changes fans wise, reactionary? Has it changed a lot, or you think you still really have the same core fans? Is it kind of growing in exponential levels? What do you think you've seen over the last 4 years?
Well, like international distribution, that's for sure. I mean, that's something you can rarely achieve
Mm,
on your own as a band. Also, you can access certain media that probably on your own they won't even read your mails. But apart from that, I don't see a big change. I
okay,
mean, at the end of the day, it all boils down to people liking your music. If
gotcha.
they like your music, they're going to find ways to buy it, download it, or listen to it. And if they don't, you could be in a major label, and I mean, you cannot spoon feed music to people. They're not going to listen to it. They're not going to buy it.
No,
So
you're right.
it's not really different from when we started in that sense. I
Okay.
mean, hadn't they liked it, they wouldn't have signed us in. So they were the first to say, "Hey, maybe that's cool. Maybe that will appeal to." However, you have to have in mind that the people that buy music from Season of Mist tend to be more into black metal and death metal,
Yeah.
but like more traditional kind of uh,
Yeah.
style. So I don't think we're fitting in that well. Like we've got some weird feedback, in
That's
social media from people from Season of Mist. Like, whoa, these guys they have short hair, they dress in red. What's that? What's that shit? and,
no,
and they're not gonna
that,
listen to
that's
the
funny.
music. Yeah,
No,
but
so
it's their loss.
I'm friends with a couple of guys in esoteric as well too, and they're also on Seasons of Mist, and they've kind of given me the same exact feedback. Like, we're one of those oddball doom death bands that really
Oh,
don't
really?
fit that don't really fit the Seasons of Mist vibe, and they get some really odd feedback too. Like, what's this band doing on this label? They're not black metal, they're not death metal, they're kind of slow, and all their songs are 15 minutes long, and so it's kind of funny. You're giving it me from one side, they gave it to me from the other side, but it's very similar stories. So
I have to admit that they're very daring at Season of Mist. I
yeah,
mean, even though they know what they're selling and they know the people that they're selling it to, they're always willing to sign some oddballs. So just because one of them might work, and they never know. Well, it's not just business to them. I mean, I know Michael, and he's really crazy about music. So
yeah,
he didn't start this because of money.
no,
Uh, so yeah, well, but that's something I really appreciate. I don't know how it works in other labels, but I can guess that sometimes that might not be the case, because at the end of the day, labels make money, and people might just get their company going. They don't care what they're
yeah,
signing or selling. It's just if it makes money, it works for them.
right,
But that's not the case for Cinemist. That they really love the music they're putting out.
very cool. So I kind of want to ask about the different kinds of vocals that are happening on the record, because that's kind of a really interesting thing to me. Um, so not only that there's male and female and that there's like different styles, but you go through different variations too, like I was talking about. Like sometimes it's really jazzy, sometimes it's kind of hip hoppy, sometimes it's just brutal death. So when you were making this new record, uh, with one of the most interesting titles of a record that I've seen in quite some time. So,
Thanks,
uh,
man.
yeah, no, definitely. Were you setting it along to kind of crush the bar of the last record? Because what it reminds me of is all the stuff of the No Year Summer, but yet you added a lot more electronic and a lot more kind of weirdness into the more, and then there's more extremity too. So like it was both sides of it. Was that something done on purpose, or is that just kind of happen as you were writing the songs?
Well, a lot of stuff was going on in that sense. Like, first off, I think that my vocals in A Year with No Summer are super off. Like,
Mm,
I've kind of learned how to sing better in this new album. So yeah, I wanted to, express that growth and that upgrading in my technique.
sure.
And on the other hand, since A Year with No Summer was about quite a different story than Mean Machine. So it was more depressing, more dull.
Mhm.
Um, it wanted to get you down. So the vocal resources that I used there were going in that direction, whereas here it's on the contrary. It wants to excite you, make you feel uncomfortable, make you feel that it expresses aggression and fun at the same time. So you have to find so a type of vocals that would express that um, you know it's hard for me to say it. It has to be like pumped up, and it has to be scary, but at the same time it has to be enticing. um, so I was surfing between those feelings and see what came on. And yeah, I think depending on the part of the song, of course, there is a feeling that I want to underline, but it's mostly like this guy um, screaming at you at
Mm.
a party. Like he wants to get you to start dancing, and even if you don't want to. And yeah, I think there's like this character that I kind of built, and then it just started to develop itself. Depending on the nature of each song, then it goes more mellow, more weird. It sometimes sounds like a little bit incel and like whispering weird seedy stuff. It's kind of like a gremlin. I don't know. Yeah, it's my stage persona, I guess.
So so that's a really good definition. I've always kind of like when I right before I play anything from Obsidian Kingdom, I always tell them it's the most creepy, accessible music that you will ever hear in your life. Like just be prepared that you've never heard anything like this unless you've listened to like fringe bands. And most of my friends have not listened to those kind of fringe bands before. And I've actually made a couple of converts for your music because they really do like the diversity. So thumbs up on that. I just kind of wanted to let you know.
That's
Um,
awesome. Thank you.
yeah,
So you think we could be like a good doorway to
I,
fringe
I
magic?
really think that's what it is. Yeah,
All
I
right.
think you're a good doorway into the more bizarre, like the DHGs of the world or things like that, where it's really goddamn bizarre and like those. I play that and it normally lasts 30 seconds before like please turn this off. Like with yours, they're like they'll get two or three songs in. They're like, hey, could you play that record again you played for me a couple weeks ago? And it's your record. So like, and that's kind of like a really, and they're diehard black metal or death metal or doom metal fans. So you do have a really kind of cool gateway thing going on. So.
That's amazing. I'm so happy to hear that because when you do weird stuff, you never know when it's gonna get too weird.
Mhm.
Once you put it out, it's done. So yeah,
Cool.
it could have easily backfired.
No, it
But
didn't at all. So I wanted to kind of ask about live versus a studio. I know right now with the way the world is, I'm sure you're not doing a ton of shows, but um, how does Obsidian Kingdom differ live than in this, like on record? Since I have never had the opportunity to see you, like, what's the is there a drastic difference in sound? Do you not play certain songs live? Like, do you curate things differently for the audience that you're playing for? Like, how does that work?
No, I mean we try to emulate the sound because like we're a band that rehearses weekly,
Mm,
so we're not one of those bands that goes into the studio with some fancy gear and
mm,
then come out with a super record that they can't play. But we're gonna play the record for a year before we even get into the studio. So I think we sound very much the same. And regarding the repertoire, I we try to play everything. Just in Meat Machine, we had this problem that Irene, who's the female singer,
yep.
quit the band in the middle of the recording, and she was initially singing 5 of the 10 songs.
God.
So we had to re-record. Well, we wanted to re-record all of them, but she has a range that I can't reach, so we could only do 3. And then there's these 2 songs, Flesh World and A Foe, that has to stay as they are. And obviously, we're not going to be able to play them live because we don't have anybody with that range in the band right now. In the future, who knows? But yeah, we try to be able to play everything. Of course, as we release more and more records, we need to narrow down the songs that we're going to play. And we noticed that there are some of them that work better live, which
Sure.
are unsurprisingly the toughest ones, the noisiest ones, the most metal ones. We're like a very sweaty band. We like to roll on the floor, and as speed is coming out of our mouths, and we
Right.
we, we get down with the audience, and we get into the mosh pits and all that. We're very physical. We've
Right.
always been, not only for Mean Machine. And weirdly enough, we're going to play a show next month because here in Europe, there's a chance of doing shows if you do
Yeah.
them open air and you have social distance. So they're like setting up tables.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, there have to be like super big spaces and with a very reduced crowd, but at least you're still able to play.
Yeah.
So we're gonna present Meat Machine Live next month, which
Oh, very
makes me
cool.
very very happy.
Yeah,
And
that's all.
hopefully shows will come back in 2021. So yeah,
Cool.
um,
So
fingers
that
crossed for a tour.
oh yeah, awesome. So that's what I was going to kind of ask, and you kind of jumped into it with the conversation you just had. Uh, so I see that you lost the female vocals in the band. Were you thinking about adding another female vocalist for shows live, or is it just kind of that was it? It's done. We're going to stick with the band we have now.
Yeah, I'm afraid that's gonna be so because having somebody else on board, like being 5 people, is already so complicated.
Sure.
Like taking all the decisions and logistics and whatnot with the crew also. So also having a singer just to play 2 songs or 3 songs, it makes no sense. I mean,
Right.
it's going to be super expensive on tour. So, well, we have a trans female in the band, so we have women, but they can't sing as high
Yeah.
as Irene could. So, but regarding that, yeah, maybe next record we're gonna go more into Judith's voice. We'll see. She's doing vocals now live. Uh,
Nice.
yeah, why not? I think it's one of our strengths, like the voice and the vocals, and that's
Yeah.
something like very different that we can bring to the table, because in terms of rock and roll, everything has been done better 20 years ago. So, but the voice, that's something unique, just because of the
Yeah.
the sound that it has to it. So yeah, we may go that direction, hopefully.
Awesome. All right, cool. So the next thing I kind of want to ask, and this is more perception or taste. I'm older. I'm in my late 40s. So I grew up with albums and CDs and like going to the record store and having that experience. Uh, are you a fan of the more physical vinyl and CD side, or are you more part of that digital age kind of everything can be in one device and be able to go and travel the world? Like, what's your view on it? Do you miss the days of and I don't even know if you did it, like tape trading or like writing back and forth to bands and doing things like that? When I was a teenager and in my 20s and playing music, we did that. Like, we would have bands from across the country send us stuff and we would send our stuff to them. What's your thoughts on that today in like this day and age?
Yeah, I'm not so young myself. I'm almost
Okay.
in my 40s, so but so yeah, I grew up in that era too. But I don't miss it. I really find it very comfortable to be able to listen to anything, to find anything online, to be able to stream anything, to find all the information about a band. It has changed the game for sure. But there is so much information that it's gone full circle, like being able to access all the music in the world. And you still need to have advice, guidance. You still need to have somebody to tell you uh, what you're gonna like. It can be an algorithm, it can be a YouTuber, it can be a friend, anything. But it hasn't changed in that sense. You still need to be connected to a scene and to certain individuals, and you still have to go to shows, to be able to appreciate what's going on, what's different, what's good. So I really don't miss it. But
Okay.
yeah, I didn't have a room at home for all that stuff. I didn't know where to put it. So I sold it, and I'm perfectly happy with my MP3 collection. So obviously, I know it's very different in terms of sound, but I'm willing to pay the price.
Yeah, it wasn't even about the sound. I mean, I just kind of missed the going to a record store and hanging out with the owner or whoever's working there, and then like showing you new stuff, new things, and like they'd be like, "Hey, you been in here? You bought this, and this," and they know you, and they're kind of like they can kind of guide you towards new records that came in, and it just seems like it's such a world right now where. There's so many bands you have to filter through, so many band camps or so many YouTube sites to be able to find stuff where it used to be a lot easier just being able to kind of have someone be able to guide you in the right direction. You can say, yeah, I like this, I didn't like this, and they know next time you come to go that direction instead of this direction. I didn't know if you missed that kind of a world. So
But don't you think that it is happening in a different way? Like that there's still like well, for example, this interview, like it's a very niche interview in the sense
yeah,
that like the people that are watching your channel already know your taste, so you're like that record store owner from
true.
back in the day. It's kind of the same. And like, when I get together with friends, yeah, they tell me, hey, like I just found that shit that I know you're gonna love.
Cool.
So there's still people performing that role. It's
Yeah.
just they don't own a store anymore.
True. No, no, absolutely very true. So the next thing I'm going to kind of ask is it's outside of music a little bit, and it's kind of just with five very different, diverse minds in one band. Is it hard to be able to write a record? And the reason why I ask is I've been a musician for 30 years. I put out a dozen records myself on indie labels, myself, whatever. And the biggest band I ever had was a band of four. And when it was four people, I'll be honest with you, Edgar, it was a goddamn nightmare. Like it literally, like yeah, it was four minds yelling at each other all the time. We made some great music, but especially with the kind of music you make, is it really hard? Is there somebody that's really the focal point of the band, or is it five minds kind of just jamming it all together and making what Obsidian Kingdom is?
Yeah, it is a total nightmare. I mean, you describe it perfectly. Um, like for example, the lyrics not so much. Like mostly I do the lyrics, or rarely Judith. Irene did a lot of them in Meat Machine.
Mhm.
So that is more specialized. But the music, yeah, certainly. Like and everybody dabbles into each other's instrument, because more or less, like with the years, we've kind of understood how the other instruments work too. So we're like, dude, I know you could play that in that different way. Why don't you try it? And yeah, and so it takes us a whole lot of time, and it's crazy. I mean, I wish we could work faster, but it's just the way it goes. Because at the end of the day, you got to be sure that everybody in the band is satisfied with the music you're putting out and is feeling the song. Because for me, it wouldn't do like if one of us just came into the rehearsal room and said, "Hey, I just did an album. We can put it out tomorrow."
Yeah.
Because that would gives no time to emotionally engage with the content, and then that the band will suffer on stage. Because if I have to sing something that somebody has wrote for me, they need to explain me what my motivation is. It's like a movie, right? Like I gotta be in the role. So then I'm gonna ask questions. I'm gonna say, okay, but if I'm feeling this, I would say it in this other way. So then everything. So even when one of us brings the song, then we're gonna, jump
Got it.
into it and strip it and begin anew. Yeah, yeah. It's a nightmare, but it's
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 one of the
satisfactory. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the best nightmares ever. I completely understand where you're going at with it. So I just have a couple more questions, and then I'll let you have your night back to you. I appreciate it
Oh,
again.
don't worry.
Yeah.
I'm awake now.
So all right. So awesome. So if and I ask this question to every band in every interview, and I kind of just love to see the different reactions. So if you could have any one band take a couple of your songs and make it their own, what band would you like to try and reinterpret Obsidian Kingdom and why?
Whoa, that's a great question, man. Um, well, I would love for Scott Walker to do it, but
Oh,
he's dead now.
yeah.
But yeah, because I think he would be able to, find what the principal elements to the song are and do it in such a minimalistic way. I think I could learn what makes a song particular.
Okay.
Like sometimes there are a lot of things that you add because that's a way that you know to play your instrument. But I think most songs could be stripped down to one or two lines. It's like, drawing a very minimal sketch. So yeah, I would choose Scott for that.
Awesome.
And I would really love to know what Uber would do with our
Ah,
songs. Because, well, I know they're doing like this disco synth thing now that I
yeah.
love.
They're doing
So
this really weird this kind of post-punk cold wave thing now. It's very interesting.
yeah, yeah, because like we really don't know how to put out a proper electronic song. We always have to do like a crossover. I would love to hear it just proper electronic, like synth pop, whatever.
That's
How would you
awesome.
translate that into a beat and not a drum?
Yeah, no, I completely understand. Yeah, Over is kind of, in my opinion, they went from black metal to the new Joy Division almost. Like that's kind of like what they are now. Like, they're that fringe band that black metal kids and death metal kids can still like without getting picked on. I don't know. Like that's kind of, I totally
Yeah,
agree. Yeah,
yeah, I hear you. Yeah, that's true.
yeah. So I
Really
would love to
so,
hear that
because
too.
what they do has nothing to do with metal.
Right. Cool. So is there a style of music that Obsidian Kingdom hasn't tried yet that you want to try?
Oh, well, like I said, like pure electronic music, like for the dance hall. Well,
Okay.
it's not going to be like EDM would probably do hard techno or
Yeah.
something like that, or drone techno. But like music you could properly dance to, that's one challenge that we still haven't taken.
Wow.
That'll be great to try. We did some remixes for Cult of Luna, for example, that went in that direction, but putting out an album of that like drone techno, I would love to do it. I don't know
That's
how to do it.
that's kind of cool.
Yet.
Yeah. that So yeah, that kind of reminds me of I don't know if you know the band Kvist at all, from Norway. They actually, I guess the two of them, they have this amazing band called Exploding Plastiques, and they went from raw primitive black metal to jazzy techno dance songs. So, and it's the same two guys literally that did brutal raw Norwegian second wave black metal, and it's jazzy with trip hop beats and dancey elements. Like I would love to see something like that, because when I heard that band, and it blew me away because I was not ready to hear those guys do that kind of music. So
What's the name of it? I'm gonna check it out.
the band is called Exploding Plastique,
Okay.
and it's with an X.
I'll
So
write that
exploding, yeah, exploding plastiques. What I can do is after this, in Skype, I'll just kind of send you the
down. Okay.
name.
Yeah. That's
I
cool.
think you would really fucking dig it. It's cool as hell. It's like it's really interesting stuff. Um, so I guess I'm gonna kind of end it here like this and say, uh, where do you see Obsidian Kingdom going next? Like, what's the future? Do you want to stay down the path you're doing? Do you want to go more visual? Do you want to have more story driven? Because your songs are story based, but it's very odd stories. They're not like, like maybe in your guys' eyes it's one story collective, but it's like really it's like short stories all in kind of a theme or an idea on each record, at least for the two I've heard.
Oh
Um,
yeah, definitely.
yeah. So where do you see the next 2 or 3 years of City and Kingdom going?
I would love for us to refine our sound, like to you know, even though we love to play and experiment, boiling down our sound to the essentials would really be great. I think like finding a language, because we tried to do it in this album and we failed. Like we still don't know who we are, or what is it that we do best. So yeah, I think some introspection might be welcome. To maybe look back at all the songs we've put out in hindsight and say, okay, so what what did we learn? What did work and what did not? So
Cool.
um, could we be able to put out a record with 10 hits, like no fillers? Is it possible? Can we do it? I love to.
Gotcha. Awesome. So I'm going to leave the platform here for you for the next couple minutes. Talk about the record, talk how they can get it. If you do have live shows or anything going on, let the people know so we can kind of come out there and support you.
All right. So yeah, we're Obsidian Kingdom, and we just put out our third record, Meat Machine. It's a very weird record, but I think it's not going to leave you indifferent. I think it just grabs you from the start and takes you places. And even if you don't like it, it's worth the experience. It was initially about the search for identity, but then it just turned into something more akin to falling down the stairs, and we just rolled with it. Like it's fun, it's aggressive. Sometimes it's disgusting and scary, but it's like a roller coaster ride. I mean, you try it. You tell me. You can find it anywhere. And well, we're going to try hard to tour Europe next year, as we always do. But with the COVID thing, who knows? And if that works, well, I really hope US comes next, because like that's a long due, man.
Well, if that happens, I will definitely be there, man. I could not wait to see you live. I love both the records so very much. I'm gonna go listen to the other one now, just because you told me that if I like those two, I'm gonna like this one. So
Oh yeah. I really
I,
like it.
I
I'm surprised you didn't check it out, because
I
that was.
had the time yet. That's the whole thing. So
Oh, sorry, yeah. That was the record that Season of Mist fell in love with. I think they
nice.
like that better than yeah, I'm honest.
That's cool, but I'll definitely check it out. I just want to say thank you so very much for spending the Saturday evening or night with me.
It's not.
I definitely will put Bandcamp and your websites and your Facebook links down so everybody can get in touch with you as well. And then like I said, I really hope to get to meet you sometime soon in 2021 because you can come over to US and play.
So do I, man. That was a great chat. Thanks a lot, Clem,
Hey, not a problem.
for your great review. We really loved it.
Oh, not a problem at all. You got it, man. Thanks again, and you have a great night. Thanks. Bye.
All right. Bye, man.